Let's go, Facebook. Yes, Facebook. Turn it up this morning, Radio Free Auburn. Through tempest, the sun of freedom shone to us, Facebook. In the great linen shone our path, you communist. What a great song for Facebook this morning on Radio Free Auburn. Sing it, brothers. Sing it, comrades. All right, enough of that. Good morning, Radio Free Auburn. This is Uncle Tbone, emergency broadcast brought to you by our good friends, the Pawms Pet Resort over on East University. Go over there and see them. My good friend Jeff Hardwick with 3 locations in Birmingham and now a new location here in Auburn. They must be doing something right, taking care of your furry friends. That's the Pawms Pet Resort, East University, over where the old Pet Palace used to be. They're in, and they're out, and the Pawms are in. And let me tell you something about what I've heard over there. They're about to open up a doggy bar over there called the Good Dog, where you can take your furry friend over there, let them run around while you enjoy a tasty cold snack if you're of age. And that sounds like a good plan to me. Go over there on East University, drop Fido off, and enjoy the rest of your day. That's the Pawms Pet Resort. Tell them Uncle Tbone sent you. Well, it has been a roller coaster since we last spoke to you. Right before the SEC championship, we said we were going to take Radio Free Auburn through the college football season. We are going to try and get in before the national championship game, but yours truly got the COVID-19, and it ran its course through our entire household. We're all good now, but I'm going to tell you what, I kind of underestimated it. Although I was double vaxxed, I was pretty sick, and so was my family for a full month. Since then, a lot of things have happened, and we've got a lot to talk about, especially this morning. A big day today here on the Plains. Alabama comes to town for the Iron Bowl on Hardwood. Number 1, Auburn Tigers in basketball. Can you feel it? That's right, numero uno. The last time that we talked about basketball here, I just watched Auburn play Yale. I was very impressed. They were at home. I did not think that we would be number 1 in the country at this point in the season, but Auburn is really good. The Tide coming to town fighting for their NCAA lives. We'll get into that basketball game and what's been going on with Auburn basketball since we left you in the football season. I tell you what, it's hotter than a $2 pistol, like my dad used to say. Auburn basketball tickets for games, standing room only, $200-$300. I was fortunate enough to be at the Georgia game a couple of Wednesdays ago at 8 o'clock, fully packed. I can remember going to Georgia games in basketball, but when I was younger at Beardu's Memorial Coliseum, a.k.a. the Sweat Box. I can call it that. I graduated high school and college there. I can remember going over to the old Sweat Box and there being like 4,000 or 5,000 people there, and basically them begging you to buy popcorn on a Wednesday night. Fully packed for the Georgia game, and then was fortunate enough to be there for the Kentucky game. My wife won a Lifetime Teacher Award from Max Credit Union, a great business, and she fully deserves it. What a wonderful woman. And she was on court about 5 minutes before tip-off at a presentation receiving that trophy. told me she could not hear the presenter. It was so loud in there for a couple of days. My ears were ringing. Auburn basketball on fire. You know, we're college football aficionados here and we love football, although basketball's on fire. The complete opposite, it seems like, has happened and happening with the Tigers in football. When we left you, Auburn was on a skid. Auburn was on a slide. Auburn had lost, is it 4 games in a row to end the regular season? Texas A&M, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Alabama. But there was some hope. There was some hope because Auburn had taken Alabama to quadruple overtime in one of the most exciting Iron Bowls I can remember. And recruiting really started picking up for the Tigers during the early recruiting season in December. The Tigers moved up from roughly around, in any given recruiting ranking, hovering around 35 to 40, and they moved all the way up to 12. Closing out on a lot of quality players and bringing in a good haul with setting up a foundation for a second run at recruiting, which will end tomorrow. And basically, football season will end in college tomorrow with National Signing Day. It's not what it used to be. National Signing Day used to be, like the Super Bowl of recruiting. Fortunate enough to work at a really fun place called Wickles Pickles, and we would work in the morning and have a little tailgate party in anticipation of all the announcements. It was something that was they'd really built up, and now it's kind of fizzled out and tomorrow won't be that big a day. The Tigers are supposed to be in on several football players, quality players. A running back from LSU, a 4-star Trevante Citizen. Offensive lineman out of Florida, Jalen Farmer, who was committed to Florida, decommitted after the coaching change when Dan Mullen left. Another defensive lineman, Jack Pylan from Florida, who was someone that a lot of teams got on late. Auburn, Miami, Florida, in on him. Still holding out hope for Caden Story out of Lynette, 4-star defensive lineman, but that looks like that ship has sailed. And a few other players, but I'm going to tell you what, the recent news yesterday breaking that Auburn lost another coordinator in the offseason. Now, look, I've seen coaches lose 2 coordinators in a year. I've never seen them lose 3. And leave it to Auburn, my alma mater, my team, the guys I cheer for, with my heart and soul, to go ahead and set the standard there. Let's reset this real quick before we move on with the show. In the off season, since we spoke to you, offensive coordinator Mike Bobo has left the program. He's out. He's now an analyst at Georgia, his alma mater, where he played quarterback in the mid-90s. Defensive coordinator Derek Mason, who was trending up at the end of the season, he's gone. Okay, he's decided that he was going to step away from football or go to Oklahoma State and be the defensive coordinator. Now he's going to Oklahoma State to be the defense coordinator from Auburn, where he had the 27th ranked defense in college football last year at Auburn, which in today's college football world is pretty dang good. Okay, he's gone. Defensive line coach Nick Eason goes back to his alma mater at Clemson. He's out. Auburn had already let go of Cornelius Williamson, not even mid-season, after like the 4th game, wide receiver coach for whatever reason. He's gone. Got about, 12, 15 players left the team in the portal. The portal is, I don't know what to think of it other than it may be the ruination of college football. They brought some players in. One of those players being Pat Nix, by the way, your starting quarterback over the last 3 years. He's out. He's going to Oregon to go play football for Dan Lanning. And so, through all this, Harsin and them over there, they keep it together. They're bringing in some players in the portal. They're losing more than they're bringing in, but they're also recruiting, right? They're getting Jason Jones, defensive lineman from Oregon, to come in, a defensive back from Oregon, a couple of quarterbacks, Robbie Ashford, who was from Hoover, is come in. He's the quarterback possibly next year, and along with the starting quarterback, Texas A&M decided he's going to come to Auburn. He beat Auburn down last year. So, not all is lost. Harsin and them, by all accounts, Coach Harsin rights the ship. They've hired an offensive coordinator, and Austin Davis, who was quarterback coach for the Seattle Seahawks, played in the NFL, played at Southern Miss, and by all accounts, by all the usual suspects, the sites that I like to go to and read, auburnsports.com, autigers.com, these are great sites. Go support them. Everyone is highly impressed with this hire. And this Austin Davis is a young, up-and-coming coach who gets it, who's been through the battles, who's tough as nails. He was a walk-on. He was like fifth string at Southern Miss and became one of their best quarterbacks since Brett Favre. He's played in the NFL. I mean, Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson out there at Seattle saying nothing but great things about the guy. He shows up here a couple weeks ago. Nobody's seen him since. Fact, he's out. Yesterday, I got to go. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm leaving for personal reasons. Signing day is tomorrow, buddy. Thank you very much. So now Auburn's on the search again for an offensive coordinator. This will be, in Harsin's first year, his third offensive coordinator, and 4 if you count him. To say that I feel uneasy about that is an understatement, and I don't think that is unfair. I shared an article on my Facebook page today from Dr. Betty Burgess, my 11th grade English teacher, and y'all need to go and read it. She's a great writer and an all-around awesome person and badass. We think the world of her. We asked her to be on the show this morning. She said, no, Uncle T, I'm retired. 6 to 7 is not going to work for me. Don't blame you, Betty B. We're going to get you on the air, though, because I want to get your thoughts. Sooner than later, we're getting you on the air, Betty B. And basically, it's an article written on Bruce and Brian. And she goes through and compares Bruce Pearl's first couple of years and how hard they were at Auburn. People forget this. But how Auburn people stuck with him, and there's an excitement around the program, and that basically we should do the same thing with Brian Harsin. Now, we're going to get in this article a little bit later because this is something we've talked about on this show for a very, very long time. Being a fan, because that's what we are. We are fans. I am no journalist. I'm not saying this show's a fugazi. I love it, and I hope you do too, and thank you so much for being here, but I'm no journalist. I'm a horticulture major from Auburn. I've just been watching Auburn football since 1982. What kind of fan are you going to be? And we're going to go through this also with Harsin's first year because we call it the first year blues. But she's saying basically be a better fan and give Brian Harsin a chance and lighten up. Betty, we're going to have to talk about this one. Because I've put my heart and soul to plenty of coaches in the past that have flamed out. Tony Barbee in basketball, Sonny Galloway in baseball, John Pawlowski in baseball. I mean, not all hires are applicable to all hires. Just because Bruce Pearl had a rough couple of seasons to start out and has it rolling now doesn't mean that every coach given full support by the fan base is going to do the same. Some coaches, on the other hand, come out like firecrackers and explode. Terry Bowden, Gus Malzahn in their first year. We've talked about it ad nauseum on this show, how rare that is and how much support they got, and they fizzled out. I like the article, and I do believe in being a better fan, and I'm trying to be one myself. Some people have actually accused Uncle T of being a bad fan this football season. Can you believe it? I don't know. Maybe losing a bowl game in Birmingham to Houston does that to a human being. That being said, check that article out. We've shared it on Facebook. We want to get your thoughts. You may be asking also why I started the show with the Soviet Union National Anthem. It's because basically Facebook has decided that some of this music that I play, violates copyright laws. And, so we're just going to crank it up with the Soviet national anthem in the breaks here today. I want everybody to get up, comrades, and I want you to salute, your overlords, your big brother, Facebook, because at least they are giving us still a chance to have a show for now. We're going to go into a little bit later where we may be going with Radio Free Auburn. And do you want this journey to continue? I've had a lot of people calling, like on that month and a half we were gone in between now and when football season. They're like, Uncle T, we got to have you back, bro. Uncle T, Radio Free Auburn's got to live on, man. It must live on. Well, it lives on, okay, despite the censorship. Despite Big Brother watching us, we are here, and we are here for you this Tuesday morning. We're going to take a break. Coffee's starting to kick in. It's cold on the plains, about 35 degrees. It's been a pretty brutal January. Thank you so much for being here this morning on Radio Free Auburn. We're actually going to crank it up next with, I don't know, a great song that's in the public domain. Can you feel it?
With so many patterns,
after this
colors, and
ad,
sizes to choose from,
the national anthem of the United States of America. I love it. Censor that, Facebook. Radio Free Auburn. We'll be back. Now, we get banned from Facebook for playing the national anthem. We're taking it to the streets, Radio Free Auburn style. We are back and couldn't be happier to be back with you. Thank you so much for being here. My man Jason Justice over in Savannah, Georgia. Top of the morning to you. Top of the morning to you, my friend. Dennis Mitchell, living legend on the radio scene on the local grind over in the River region. You can hear him on Sports Radio 740 in the mornings, calling in to John and Barry. You can hear him in the afternoons, calling in to my man Doug Amos, Charlie Trotman. They're also on 106.7 ESPN, 107.5 FM in Montgomery. Hi, Realist, that's an old nickname. Who is going to be the OC at Auburn now? That's going to be Brian Harsin. My man Blake Brewer, thank God you are still here, Uncle Tbone, and you back at you, Brewdog. Hope you're feeling better. Meredith Chase over in South Carolina, a loyal listener. Good morning, Meredith. Talking about Betty B's article, truly a must-read. I could not agree more. Brett Harrison, great show, Realist. Thank you very much, my friend. And Mitch Pugh, I hope you're feeling better, brother Mitch. Mitch and I won the Indian Pines 2021 Big Cup Championship two-man go-around. I'm talking about that's a mid-major we took home last year. I need you back this May. We're going to take it home again. USA, USA. That's right. I love a USA chant. If anybody ever wants to get up a USA, USA chant, call Uncle Tbone. We'll do it right there on the phone. Anytime, anywhere, 365-247. We're here this morning because of my good friends partnering up with us over at the Pawms Pet Resort on East University. Can you feel it? Get your furry friends over there. My good friend Jeff Hardwick. 4 locations now, 3 in Birmingham. You can get up there and call them in Birmingham also. This show's worldwide, and we reach everywhere, all corners of the state, all corners of the globe if they'll allow us. Okay, Radio Free Auburn. Got 3 wonderful, wonderful pet resorts up in Birmingham, First Avenue North, Vestavia and Avondale, and now he's down here on the plains They must be doing something right with those furry friends. That's the Pawms Pet Resort over at the old Pet Palace. They're in. The Pet Palace is out on East University Drive. You know the magic words. Open sesame, Uncle Tbone sent me. They will take care of you, I promise, and take care of your furry friend. So we're talking about how much transition is occurring right now, and we're going to get to basketball. Don't worry, but we're talking Auburn football, whether you like it or not, is the absolute straw that will always stir the drink on the plains. Okay. It's the big cheese. It's the big enchilada. And Bruce Pearl is actually taking away from that, and while adding to it, obviously. He doesn't take away from anything. He gives way more to this university than he takes away, and that's why they just basically gave him a lifetime contract. Well deserved. No, Louisville, you're not taking our coach. We'll be keeping Bruce Pearl here on the plains, one of the most valuable assets ever to be in Lee County. But Auburn football, this is a football-heavy show. I'm a college football aficionado, and you are too. That's why you're here. We live this stuff. We breathe this stuff. We love this stuff. Auburn football is on the struggle bus. Okay? Dr. Betty B has an article up today basically breaking down the dichotomy of an Auburn fan. She doesn't know this, but this is what I read into her article. There's both the good and bad in fans. We put them on Uncle Tbone's scale of fandom. On the left side, you have the absolute sunshine pumpers. And on the right side, you have the doom and gloomers. Okay? Somewhere you fall on this scale. These people that constantly pump sunshine are Kool-Aid drinkers. And these people that constantly are never happy and call doom and gloomers. And it's never good enough. Right? They're nothing more than your basic hater. But every fan base has this. Auburn's not exclusive. But for some reason, I think that Auburn people, at least I am, let me give you my viewpoint, Betty B. I am torn. Because although I've seen in my lifetime the mountaintop of great things in Auburn sports, I've seen the lowest of lows too. In Auburn sports and Auburn athletics oftentimes is like a life. It's a roller coaster. And you don't know what's around the next corner. And you can do a couple of things, right? You can fear what's around the next corner, or you can be hopeful what's around the corner is the glory land. Right? She basically breaks it down right now that the Bruce Pearl side of the fandom inside of you couldn't be happier, and you should be. Auburn is number one in the country in basketball. In the AP, that's the first time ever. This guy keeps checking things off. Got to win an SEC championship, check. Regular season, got to get one in the tournament, check. Got to get back to the NCAA tournament, check. Got to make a run in the NCAA tournament, check. Got to get the Final Four for the first time, check. Got to get to AP number one for the first time. It means something. Check, 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 check. How far is he going to take this checklist? The excited, happy side of the fan base in me says he's going to take it all the way, baby, to a national championship in basketball. And then on the flip side of that, the yin and the yang, you have Auburn football fan right now inside of me who says all is lost and there's no hope. Georgia just won a national title, first time since 1980. Alabama's still one of the top dogs and will be as long as Nick Saban's there. They're just crushing us in the middle in recruiting. Here comes Florida with a new coach. Here comes LSU with a new coach. Here comes A&M paying $60,000 of offensive linemen. Spending $31 million with the NIL, another probably abomination in college football that's going to help ruin it. College football, I digress a minute, but college football really is an example that sometimes big money can ruin things. Okay? If you want, why don't you just give your big money to Uncle T and I won't ruin it. The inside fan of me right now, and there's a yin and a yang, there's two wolves. One of them's the Bruce Pearl fan, and one of them's the Brian Harsin fan, and there's a fight inside my fandom body right now for which one's going to reign supreme. Am I going to stay positive and roll it with Bruce Pearl, right? Or am I going to go to the negative and say we can't even keep an offensive coordinator here? You know, Betty B, it's a tough discussion with this article now. Not all things are apples to apples. Just because Bruce Pearl got support from Auburn fans, whipped us into a frenzy, and is trying to take us to the promised land and we're on board, doesn't mean that any other coach can do that, given same support. It doesn't mean that. I've seen Auburn fans give Tater Tot Terry Bowden all the support in the world, and he ruined it. I've seen the same with Gus Malzahn. I've seen the same with Gene Chizik. So, I'm torn right now. I'm really torn because Bruce Pearl's doing such great things, and Brian Harsin seems to be on the struggle bus. It's not fair to compare the two. You can't just expect because Bruce Pearl as a fan also has done such great things that Brian Harsin will either. All I can tell you though is you got to give somebody some time. And we talked about this all year. We talked about this all football season, the ups and downs of a first-year coach. And how many times have people text me, Uncle Tbone, Pat Dye went 5-6 his first year. Give the man a chance. And Nick Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe his first year. And then I'd always come back, well, that means we're going to win the SEC West and go to the SEC title game next year like Nick Saban. Let's not be over the top with comparisons, but let's not also be logical in every argument, okay? Most first-year football coaches from the NFL down, it's like surgery. It can look really, really, really messy for a long time until it's complete and you start to heal up and then you get better. That's the best way I can put it. So you have to trust that your head coach is the man for the job. All the whirlwind around it, all the coaches leaving, all the players leaving in the portal, misses on the recruiting trail, meltdowns against Mississippi State. All these things are part of process for your program to get better on the long end. And when you get, and you're like Andy Dufresne, baby, crawling up out of that sewer line in that prison in Maine, and you got to go through for a couple of miles to come out as clean as a whistle. That's what you got to trust in, right? You got to trust that Brian Harsin's got this, because if you don't, and he does have it, you're going to feel like a fool. But if you don't really give support to not the coach, Betty B, not the coach, but the program you cheer for, then are you really a fan? Because she puts it pretty bluntly in there. If you don't like us at our worst, you don't deserve us at our best. Or you don't cheer for us at our worst, you can't cheer for us at our best. And I agree with that, man. I struggle with that. I'm honest. I'll get on them, man. I'll get on Auburn bad. And I'll go to a bad place with them when they get to playing bad, when they give up 25-point leads to a pirate who fancies himself as a college football coach. Oh, my. All this has been building up for a while, and I'm going to have to take a break. 6:30 a.m. here in Lee County, Central Standard Time, 35 degrees. Matt Watson, my man in South Carolina. Have a great day, Uncle Tbone. Back at you, Chris Lee over in Mississippi. Kind of struggling with that fandom right there. I feel you, Chris. Here's his quote. The basketball coach makes more than the football coach now. Crazy how times have changed. We're going to get to changing times here shortly, but we're going to take a break, come back. Let's see what we can come up with that's in the public domain so we don't get run afoul of Facebook censorship any longer. Should we play the Russian national anthem since we're about to go to war with them? No, thanks. Let's get that. Let's get this one. I like this. It's a good song. This is a great song right here. This ought to get you going in the morning here in this wonderful country of ours.
Grow your Office 365 skills on LinkedIn Learning.
This little silly ad. We're still learning. This is still live, folks. We're doing the best we can. You're at Radio Free Auburn. This is America the Beautiful, and it is beautiful. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. That was America the Beautiful. Censor that, Facebook. Radio Free Auburn. Brought to you by the Pawms Pet Resort over on East University this beautiful Tuesday morning. My, it's cold outside, but we are comfy inside talking about what else? Auburn sports, Auburn athletics, and the roller coaster that it is, the good and the bad, the yin and the yang, the Bruce Pearl and the Brian Harsin, trying to figure it all out this Tuesday morning. We got 30 minutes to go before we get cleaned up. I hope the coffee is kicking in for all of you, and I hope that you have a great day. So tonight, let's get to something on the good side of things. Tonight, Alabama comes to town at Auburn Arena. Currently on scoresandodds.com, running a 7-point underdog to the Tigers, the #1 Tigers in the country. They played earlier in the year. Auburn was up in Tuscaloosa and I believe won by 4. Busted out the crane kick on Alabama, and man, I'm gonna tell you what, I don't really know what to make of this Alabama basketball team. I was trying to do an emergency broadcast Saturday before Facebook shut me down for playing Blue Oyster Cult Godzilla. I guess we can't do that anymore. And we were talking about the Tide, and had you been able to listen to that show that wasn't completely muted, you would have gotten that they would probably play Baylor a pretty good basketball game at home on a Saturday, because it seems to me when Alabama steps onto the hardwood in basketball this season under Nate Oates, that they play to the level of their competition. You know, if they're playing against Gonzaga or they're playing against Baylor, even when they played against Auburn and stayed in that game, they kind of rise up to their competition. Then on the flip side of that, they go over there and play a putrid Georgia team last Tuesday night and get dominated. They looked horrible. You know, they go up to Missouri and lose. And look, you know, Missouri's a tough place to play. That's actually a pretty decent basketball team despite their record. They took Auburn to the wire, #1 team in the country. But I'm telling you, it's weird watching this Tide team. When you see teams athletically, play to the level of their competition, both good and bad, and they hover around 500 in league play, not just in basketball but in football, you know, it's really frustrating because you know they can take care of business, but you don't know which night they're going to come and take care of business. And that, to me, is a team that lacks an identity. Okay? Will this win against Baylor Saturday kind of allow Alabama to finally settle into who they are, what they're doing. This is a good time of year to get hot in basketball, okay? From now, February 1st, till the end of the season, it's moving day. You're either moving up the NCAA food chain into that tournament, or you're getting shuffled out. And Alabama's in the middle of a 3-game, and this is the rubber game, and a 3-game run where they're going to have to go against what was number 4 Baylor, what is number 1 Auburn, and I believe what is now a top 10 Kentucky team. Alabama has not played well on the road. That is a team that lacks toughness. If you're a team that can't go on the road in this league and take care of business, something's missing toughness-wise, or has been. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't recapture that tonight. I expect Alabama to give Auburn all they want. Not a huge fan of Nate Oates. Think that he kind of runs his gums and bumps his mouth, or bumps his gums and runs his mouth a little bit more than he should. I think he kind of tries to act like John Calipari without the championship pedigree, but he's a good coach. If I were Alabama at this point in the season, and I've never coached basketball, never will, but don't you think it's about time for somebody to pull J.D. Davidson to the side and say, hey, looky here, buddy, you're going to the NBA. It's time for you to rise up. If I'm Auburn, that's who I'm looking to shut down tonight. I'm going to be all over J.D. Davidson, because we're not going to let him distribute the ball. We're not going to let him get clean open shots. And anytime he comes in the lane, he's going to get thrown into the cheap seats. The thing that Auburn has going for it, though, is its physicality. What got them in trouble up in Tuscaloosa, though, were some questionable calls, foul calls on Walker Kessler earlier in that game that got him out of that game. But Auburn seems to find different ways to win because they have so much talent across the board and they have so much depth. Walker Kessler stays in this game and he goes for 22 points, goes for 12 rebounds, goes for 3 blocks. Auburn probably covers this spread. That guy is a freaking beast, okay? He's a beast, and Alabama's going to do what they did up in Tuscaloosa and try and get him into foul trouble early and get him on the bench. The problem with that is Carswell, Williams, Smith, they're all very physical. In that inside game of Auburn, what Auburn, I'm still looking for Auburn, and I know this is ridiculous to say. I got a friend of mine mad at me the other day because I said they played sloppy against Oklahoma, and I felt like they did, okay? Just too much turning the ball over, just too many weird shots, okay? Just settle it down and ball. Kentucky tried to slow Auburn down. I was at that basketball game. They tried to make it a more fundamentally sound basketball game. They didn't want Auburn's athleticism running up and down the court. Auburn got into a half-court game against Kentucky. Auburn took care of business. You want to get into a half-court game against Auburn, they're quite capable of that. Auburn has so much depth right now in basketball, though. They're just putting in wave and wave and wave and wave. And by the end of the game, if you don't have that kind of transition in your substitutions, you're going to be winded. They're going to be fresh. And if Walker Kessler's not in foul trouble, and neither is Jabari Smith, they're going to be on the court for the last 5 minutes of the game. And I'm going to take my chances with that against anybody in college basketball. Fact. Okay? This should be a good game, though. 8 o'clock, though. Golly, I mean, talk about a late tip-off. Really? Really? 8 o'clock? A lot of people going over there right now. Tickets, standing room only, $250, $300. Good luck getting one. I don't have one. If anyone's got one for Uncle T, though, hit me up. I'll drink some coffee and stay up and watch that basketball game. Should be a good one. Joe Lenardi right now, bracketology, has Auburn the number 1 seed in the entire country. We'll see about that. A lot of basketball left. He has Alabama squarely in the tournament. Big wins help that, but, man, you know, they got to keep that going. They got to keep that going, and there's nowhere they would like to keep that going more than tonight and take care of business against their arch rivals who are number 1 in the country. AL.com stirred up something yesterday, as usual. Michael Casagrande with some quotes from Nate Oates. Now he's coming back this morning and saying they're out of context, quote, "I'm sorry. Someone at Alabama must have called him up and said, 'Hey, buddy, what's your deal?'" But yesterday he's tweeting over on the Twitter sphere. I don't do Twitter. That's where crazy people are. But here's my Oates, Nate Oates, and I quote, "We have a little bit larger of an arena than they have, and they traveled over here a little bit." A little bit, Coach Oates? Auburn had like 4,000 people in your arena. Hopefully we sneak a few Alabama fans in there. You know, there's always a few that sneak through. They just can't stand it. And that place is going to be nuts because they don't seat many people. Okay. That's why they're going to be nuts. All right, this has really ticked off some Auburn fans, and Auburn fans now smell blood. Okay? Oates continues. What does it seat? 8,000? Is that right? 8, 10? And they're the number one team in the country. They're going to sell that place out pretty much every night. That's what they're doing. You know, this is what I'm talking about. He just talks too much, right? So Casagrande comes back and apologized today and said you got to listen to even more of the quotes because it was all taken out of context and this reads like trash talk. This is on AL.com. You can check it out, his article. And it should be noted that Greg Byrne he's trying to build a facility about the same size of Auburn right now, other than that dump Coleman Coliseum. Okay, right? And it's a mausoleum, and I just wanted to clean all this up, and I'm sorry, man, my bad. Oh, I didn't mean to get everybody all fired up. Okay, buddy, you're the one who quoted this on Twitter. You're the one who started all this, and now you're trying to walk it back. Believe me. And it's kind of like, man, some of these rival coaches, like after the basketball game against Kentucky, John Calipari was whining, and as he usually does during the games, before games, after games, because he's a whiner. And Calipari was, talking about how that must have been their Super Bowl, basically, and yeah, we always sell arenas out. Dude, I've been going to Auburn, Kentucky games for a very long time, and yes, Kentucky basketball fans travel. That is the very least amount of Kentucky basketball fans I've ever seen in Auburn Arena. There was a spattering of a few in a few sections. They were a non-factor. And I believe that'll probably be the same tonight when Alabama comes to town. Because, quite honestly, do you really want to travel to somebody else's basketball court and spend $500 to get a ticket? And I got something for this whole Casagrande quote, Nate Oates, and them trying to walk it back. He's like, well, I'm not trying to talk trash, Casagrande. But Michael Casagrande is trying to walk this article back where he basically says Nate Oates called Auburn Arena a dump in a little small place. And we got a bigger arena. That's why there were so many of their fans in our arena. No, there were so many Auburn fans at Coleman Coliseum because Alabama fans were dumping those tickets left and right. There wouldn't be so many Auburn fans up in your arena traveling to go see their Tigers play and going, defense, defense, so loud that your fans are having to boo to hush them up. If your fans were actually not selling their tickets. Fact. Okay? That's ridiculous. This whole thing's ridiculous. And then AL.com backs it up with, now Auburn's the trash talkers. This article out right after the apology article from Casagrande where he has to walk back everything. Auburn crane kicks are fuel as Alabama hits road for rematch. Okay, I'm not even going to go into that. That's ridiculous. Trying to now blame Auburn for the trash talk in this basketball game that's coming up tonight. Oh, my. Alabama doesn't need any fuel to come in here and play well against Auburn, and Auburn doesn't need any fuel outside to play well against Alabama. It's a rivalry game in any sport. They're going to go at it with everything they got despite the records, and this one even makes it more fired up because Auburn's number one and Alabama's trying to remain relevant in the SEC. We're going to take our last break. It's been a great show. We'd like to thank all of you for being here this morning. And we're just going to do the sound of silence here because Facebook's censoring good music that's being played because Sony Music doesn't have enough money and they think I'm getting filthy rich off Radio Free Auburn. So we're just going to have a little quiet time. Let's settle it down, and we'll be back for these last 15 minutes. Radio Free Auburn. I'll be right back. Okay, that silent break and quiet time here at Radio Free Auburn was brought to you by the Pawms Pet Resort over on East University, one of our newest partners here. We couldn't be more happy to be affiliated and associated with such a great organization. My friend Jeff Hardwick and his partners have opened up the Pawms at the old Pet Palace on East University Drive in Auburn. Go over there and tell them that Uncle Tbone sent you. They will take care of your furry friends. And coming soon, the Good Dog over there. That's right. That's going to be a dog park and a human park too. They're going to serve tasty cold snacks to those of age, and you can take your dog over there for a quick break and enjoy a frothy cold beer while socializing your furry friends. That's the Pawms in Auburn over on East University, and they have 3 locations in Birmingham too. If you're in need of their service there, go check them out. First Avenue North, Avondale, and Vestavia Hills. So we got a few minutes left here at Radio Free Auburn. We're trying to play catch up. We've been gone since just before the SEC championship game. Real quick, there's an article that I shared on my Facebook page. Please check it out, from the great one, Dr. Betty Burgess. One of the best Auburn fans that there has ever been, just an all-around badass of life. We got into that. She basically titles it on Brian and on Bruce and Brian. I call it the yin and yang of Auburn fandom, the struggle that we all have internally on being a great fan and waiting for the other shoe to drop side of things. You know what, I have friends of mine who tell me that we can't have nice things here at Auburn. Well, I don't believe that anymore, because we have Bruce Pearl, and he's been a very nice thing for Auburn basketball, Auburn University, and more importantly, Lee County and the surrounding communities. Doing a hell of a job over there and has a lifetime contract now. Well deserved, making well over $5 million a year. Auburn and Alabama, go at it tonight at Auburn Arena. The Tide coming in, a big win over Baylor. Auburn taking care of business against Oklahoma. We don't really know what to think of Alabama basketball right now, other than they have been searching for an identity all season, and that's indicative to us here at Radio Free Auburn of any organization that plays up to its competition but plays down to it, and they have proven that all season long. Wins over Baylor, wins over Gonzaga, and then putrid losses over people like Mizzou and Georgia. I think that there's 2 keys to the game: keeping Walker Kessler out of foul trouble for Auburn, and J.D. Davidson get going for Alabama. If one of those 2 things, if they go wrong, it could spell trouble for either team. If both of them happen, say Walker Kessler stays out of foul trouble and J.D. Davidson doesn't do anything tonight, it could be a pretty good win for somebody here on the Plains. I don't know what to think of that game. I think Alabama's going to come in fired up. Nate Oates probably trying to whip them into a fury. He's a loudmouth, but he's a good basketball coach. Auburn has found a way to win against all types of teams in all types of ways. Walker Kessler stays in this game, and the Tigers take care of business. On to Auburn football. We discussed that. Tomorrow's National Signing Day. It still should be pretty exciting. I would say that most big schools have about 80% to 85% of their commitments for next year already signed and ready to go due to the early signing period. No longer is the saying the big dog walks late, but there will be some surprises tomorrow. You can count on Alabama to have held back a couple of commitments and make some noise tomorrow just to get publicity. They can't stand it. They're going to have their name out there. Auburn searching for about 4 or 5 more players, in on a lot of players, and we're making positive momentum, or what felt like that since the end of the season until now. Talked about a quick recap and disappointing end to the Auburn football season. I left out that brutal loss to Houston in the bowl game. Is it the end of the season? The questions going into next year, is that a trend? Is that losing streak what Harsin's going to be known for? Or was it just, chalk it up to the first year blues? That's over. Clean slate. Moving on. Got to go into next year with a positive attitude. I'm going to choose, to probably be disappointed tomorrow in football season on a sour note with the bowl loss and what I think is probably going to be a little bit of disappointment tomorrow. Could be wrong and hope I am. And then after tomorrow, just put football aside. It's done. Not going to worry about it until about August. Maybe July. Maybe after the 4th of July, I'll start worrying about it again. And just say that was the first year, and we're going to get better, and we got the right coach, and I'm going to be a fan, and I'm going to cheer for my program first. And by cheering for my program and being a fan, I'm supporting the coaching staff, and we're just going to chalk 2021 into the first-year coaching blues that so many people have pointed out happened to the great ones like Pat Dye, Nick Saban, and other ones, right? You choose to do you, but I'm going to still be an Auburn fan, as tough as it was at the end of that season. Just being fully honest, I'm a fan, man, and that the end of that season was brutal. And we're just going to move it along into 2022 and hope for the best and prepare for the worst. War Eagle, right? Got some people in this morning. Philip Morton, class of 1988, Auburn High School. Coleman Coliseum is the worst than the barn was prior to the Inferno. I could not agree more. The last time full transparency, the last time I was in Coleman Coliseum, I was smoking cigarettes, okay? It was the 1994 Allman Brothers tour. And it was a dump then, and it's a dump now. Fact. So I can still remember several people around the state who like to take shots at Auburn in the media when Auburn built the Auburn Arena. $48 million waste of money, Uncle Tbone. That's paying dividends now. You got to upgrade your facilities constantly in every sport that you're involved in athletics. And if you're not doing that, you haven't made a commitment to be the best program you can possibly be. That's just all there is to it. Whether it's softball, whether it's tennis, whether it's football, if you're going to have a program, you got to be serious about it because the goal is to be the best you can be and be number one. And the only way to do that is to get better facilities constantly. Constantly. Right? Kids these days, they're in the portal, they're in the NIL, whatever that is. I still haven't figured that whole thing out. They're on social media. They don't care that Coach Bryant walked the sidelines in 1974 and that you'd have given your left arm to play football for that man and wear the crimson jersey. Right? All they care about is what can you do for me right now. And if you got an old, nasty Coliseum, you might get some players, but you ain't going to get to the promised land. It's just all there is to it. You got to take care of your players, and the best way to do that is to upgrade your facilities. And then we're talking about, last but not least, this transition time in Auburn football, not only in the staff but in the portal. Auburn's lost, I think, up to 9 defensive linemen in the portal this season from last year. A lot of folks are like, whatever, they're Gus Malzahn holdovers. I disagree. Not all of them. Some of those people could play. Romelia Heights going to play at Southern Cal. That means he at least has the talent to have played at Auburn. He's gone. Now, look, Auburn's not in the worst shape. They've got a lot of players coming in. But you're losing a ton of people in the portal. You're losing coaches. You can't sit here and tell me that all is well, right? I'm going to still cheer for my team. And I hope Coach Brian Harsin is like Betty B, going to be the next Bruce Pearl here at Auburn, the next hot thing. And I'm going to support my Auburn Tigers no matter what. But I'm not just going to sit here and sugarcoat it either. Okay? What's been happening in that football program, just from the outside looking in, I don't have any inside sources and I don't want them. Tried to play that game before. Don't call me and tell me so-and-so told you so-and-so. I don't care. I'm just a fan and I'm looking from the outside in and it looks dysfunctional at the moment. That doesn't mean that it's going to stay dysfunctional. Things can change in this life in a New York minute. But I'm saying it just doesn't look real good right now. Explain to me how it's going to get better, and don't tell me because Coach Dye had a rough year, his first year in 1981. Don't tell me because Nick Saban lost to Louisiana Monroe, everything's going to be fine with Coach Harsin. I got to have a little bit more. I got to have a little bit more to get this unease out of my body. Maybe I just need a little bit more coffee and we'll take care of business later. I don't know. But lost multiple coaches. Lost multiple players, lost multiple coordinators. Maybe this is just some kind of bigger struggle. I don't know. Conspiracy theorist in me that Coach Brian Harsin has got something going on in this program that's an internal fight and he's fighting for the power and control of it over people who don't need to be in charge. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's a little ridiculous. I think anybody involved with Auburn's pulling for Auburn. Who wouldn't want their head coach? I wanted Gus Malzahn to win it all every year. So I don't know if I believe that. But maybe there is a little bit of, look, I'm in charge. Y'all going to have to back off and I'm going to do it my way. And if it doesn't work, then I'm going to take the train. You got to hire folks. When you hire folks, you got to give them a little leeway to do their jobs. Are there too many people outside forces trying to influence Auburn football right now? I don't know. I don't think so. I hope not. I hope people haven't pulled support, big money people, because this guy wasn't our guy and he's from Idaho. Whatever it is, though, you better get behind your Tigers come first game next fall, because whoever the coach is, no matter what, it's still all about the orange and blue, and that's the brand that I'm going to ride with. But it don't look real good right now. We'll see what happens tomorrow in recruiting. We're going to rally back probably next week, maybe Sunday. Recap the Iron Bowl on the Hardwood, what happened on National Signing Day, Saturday basketball. After tomorrow, it's full-blown basketball until the end of March Madness, right? And then we're going to do a little Masters talk. Working in this off-season, though, this is more an off-season for Radio Free Auburn. We're trying to figure out what our format's going to be starting this fall, so stay with us. If you have any suggestions, please feel free to share them, even the negative ones. I get those too. It's been a heck of a show this morning. Thank you so much for being with us early on in the loveliest village on the plains. We started off the show with the Soviet national anthem because it's a public domain song, and I now call this the Facebook national anthem. So we're going to end the show. Once again, comrades here at Radio Free Auburn with the old Soviet national anthem. They won't let me play Black Betty. They won't let me play Werewolves of London. But my God, Facebook, we can play the communist national anthem. Thank you so much. Thank you to the Pawms Pet Resort over on East University, Auburn's newest pet resort. Go see them. They're at the old Pet Palace. Tell them Uncle Tbone sent me this Radio Free Auburn. And we will see you next time. Have a great day.